I found throughout life, if I'm just available to God, that God really does above and beyond what I could ask or think, sometimes even surprising me. A couple of years ago, I was in Kansas City, Missouri, was going there to speak, and I went to the Thrifty car rental, and as I normally do, just engaged the lady behind the counter in conversation. There were a line of people behind us, so didn't have a whole lot of time, but I always carry around a little Steps to Peace with God tract that just simply explains the gospel. So as I was leaving, I put on the counter and said, "Ma'am, I just want to leave this with you. It just talks about the love of Jesus. When you get a chance, maybe you can take a look at it." Didn't think much about it. Usually when I walk away from a counter like that, I just said, "Lord, would you reveal yourself to this person?" And I went on. I went on to that night and spoke, and the next morning we were rushing to get to the venue where I was going to speak the next morning as well, and not had any coffee or anything. So the guy I was riding with us said, "Hey, could you just stop at McDonald's? I'll just run in real quick." I run into McDonald's and said, "Hey, can I just get a cup of coffee?" And the girl looked and she said, "It's you." And I said, "Yeah, it's me." And she said, You're the guy that I met in Colorado last year." And I said, "Excuse me, I'm sorry. Could you remind me, help me a little bit?" She said, "Last year when I was in Colorado, you led me to Jesus." And it all began to click. I remember being in Colorado, speaking somewhere, and I remember meeting this young lady and sharing the Lord with her. She prayed with me, and I didn't know what had come of it. And she said, when I got back, I told my mom, and my mom gave her life to Jesus. We're now involved with a church just down the road, and God is transforming our lives. Wow, was I blown away. Well, I went on to speak at that conference that morning, and that afternoon I was going right back out. So I went back to Thrifty Car Rental and was waiting for the bus to come pick me up to take me back to the airport. As I'm sitting there, another lady employee walks out of the Thrifty Car Rental, and she said, "Hey, were you the guy that gave that little pamphlet to Susie yesterday?" And I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "Could I have one of those?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "Do you know Jesus?" She said, "Oh, yes, I know Jesus. I love Jesus." She said, "Let me tell you a little story." She said, when I was praying about a job, I said, "God, I just don't want a job. I want a job where I can impact people's lives. Put me in the right place." So I felt like God wanted me to come work here. I got the job, and for the last 2 months I've been discouraged because I've tried to make friends with people, love people, and share the gospel, and there hasn't been any response. She said, "But yesterday when you came in and gave that little pamphlet to Susie, she pulled me aside at our break and said, 'Is this what you've been trying to tell me?' And she said, 'Absolutely, exactly.' We went to lunch that day. We went through the whole pamphlet. She gave her life to Jesus. Last night she came with me to church, and God is doing a great work in her life. She even was telling some of the other employees about what was happening." I wanted to get one of those little pamphlets from you because I want to have something to pass on as well. Well, to say the least, I walked away encouraged. Not necessarily at all the huge, big things that had happened at this conference when I spoke to hundreds of people, but at those simple ways that God moves when somebody's just available to be His hands